Hello art beaters, Becky here with a new video and I hope you enjoy. If you want to keep up to date on all things art beads, make sure to like and subscribe to our channel right now. Enjoy! And you can see my, this is the PDF diagram that is included in the instructions that you can download and print out. We also have a great basic herringbone PDF diagram as well. If you've never done the herringbone stitch, this is a really great diagram to start out with. It kind of shows you how to do the basic stitch. I've got that linked in the video description as well. Really great stitch. So this is the bracelet that I'm going to be demoing today. This is our Riches of Rome bracelet. You can see it has 2 whole half Tilas there in the center. So that'll be fun to show you how those beads are incorporated into the flat herringbone stitch. We've got hex-shaped beads, round seed beads, and even small little cube seed beads to make a nice trim there at the end. And then for the closure, we've got this cool crystal spike bead. You could use a button or another fun bead shape there, and then just more cube beads for the loop. So that's really all you need to make this cute little bracelet, and of course some beading thread and needles. I have got Toho 1G thread in a nice color that matches these pretty beads that I've got, and a size 12 beading needle. Let's go through all the beads again so you know the sizes. We've got 8/0 rounds. I've got 8/0 Toho and Miyuki rounds that I'm working with today, and some fun colors. I've got this fun turquoisey color and then this kind of coppery rose gold color. You're also going to want the 8/0 hex beads. These are hexagonal seed beads. You can see they're kind of they got that 6-sided hexagon shape. So those are 8/0 hex seed beads. Then you're going to want the Miyuki half Tila beads. So half Tila beads are little rectangular, almost like little bricks, and they are half of the size of the square Miyuki Tila beads, so that's why they're called half Tilas. So pretty. I love this color that I've got picked out here. And then you're going to want to also use the 1.8mm cube seed beads. Our original bracelet features alternating colors of the cube seed beads. I've just got one color here today that I'm going to use, but you could certainly alternate the colors if you like. Maybe even use more color. Totally up to you. So super, super fun design, and I'm excited to try these colors. They're a little different from this gorgeous purple and gold color scheme that we've got going on here today. So pretty, so really fun. And my thread is a good match for the colors that I've got as well. So super fun. I'm loving all of the different seed bead shapes in this bracelet design. It really adds some fun texture to the design. So let's dive in. I'm going to need some cutters for my thread. I'm going to cut a comfortable length of thread here. You can always add in more if you start to run out, but I typically do an arm span. I'll stretch out my arms as I unwind this thread and kind of pull it to my arm span, and I kind of like to stretch the thread too. It's a little coily when you take it off the spool. Kind of like to stretch and straighten it out, and then you'll just snip it and add it to your needle. Get it on there. If I can do it on camera, that would be ideal, but my eyesight is the problem. Here, I'm gonna have to do it closer to my eyes. There we go. Got it threaded there. Okay, so we've got our needle threaded. So what we're going to do first is create a ladder stitch base for the bracelet. Yeah, great time to order while they are all on sale. Yes, we've got our sale going on, our Art Beads birthday sale. Everything is 20 to 40% off store-wide. So we're going to start with a ladder stitch to create the base for the stitch in this bracelet. So I'm going to start with, you can kind of see I've got my beads up in the order that I'm adding them. So I'm going to start with this 8/0 round seed bead here in this copper color. So that's a good point to bring up. You might want to kind of lay out your beads and see which colors you want to add first. So I'm going to add it, and I'm going to leave at least a 6-inch tail for weaving back in. You could add a longer one for attaching your clasp at the end. And so then what you're going to want to add is 2 of your 8/0 hex seed beads. So for ladder stitch, it's really easy to get started. I've got my hex seed bead added, and I'm going to come back up through that first seed bead added. And when you pull tight, you can kind of see that they kind of line up next to each other like a ladder. And then I'm going to come back down through that hex bead. And we want to add 2 of those. So, and you'll see that they get a little wonky. You can, of course, go back through that same path to reinforce that ladder. See, that kind of tightens everything up. And then go back down through that hex bead. You're going to add another hex bead here. In the same way that you did the first one in the ladder. There we go, and you can go back through the same path to reinforce if you want. You don't have to, but it gives you a little more, less wiggly beads. And then you're going to add the next 8/0 round seed bead in your second color here. I've got this fun, rainbow turquoise color that are just hopping off my needle. Ladder stitch where you come back up through that last bead added, kind of looping around through it. And then going back down. Oh, these colors are so beautiful. So now that we've got our second color of the 8/0 round seed bead added, we're going to add our Tila bead. So come, bring your needle through one of the holes in that Tila bead. And then you're going to do the same thing, same ladder stitch where you go back through that previous seed bead. And then back up through that same stringing hole on the Tila. And then you're going to kind of just do the same ladder stitch technique through this second stringing hole to get your thread correct, and it just keeps you consistent. So do a little faux ladder stitch there because these stringing holes are already connected. And then what you're going to do on this side is make a mirror image of this pattern that you've already added in the ladder stitch on the first side of the Tila, half Tila I should say. So add that turquoise seed bead and then go back down through the second stringing hole of the Tila and then back up. I want to get my lighting correct. There we go. We're going to add those 2 hex seed beads. I've already got a little knot in my thread, but as you can see, sometimes when you get little knots in your thread, they're easily undone just by pulling the ends of the thread. That's my favorite kind of knot because I know it's going to be easy to undo. Some get a little more tricky, but we won't talk about that. Another hex bead in the same ladder stitch. You guys, I've been watching the show Yellowstone, so good, and I'm at the very end of season 2 and it's on a cliffhanger, and oh my gosh, I can't wait to catch up and see what happens next. That's a really good show. It's an intense show. Who knew ranching had so much drama? And then we're gonna add that final coppery bead there. All right, so we've got our ladder stitch base, and we are pretty much ready to start adding our next row. So this is looking so cute. I actually really like these colors I chose. I kind of chose coppery and silver finishes together with that little pop of turquoise in the center. That is looking so cute. So really fun. So we've got our base row of ladder stitch done. And now we are going to add the next row. So I'm just going to flip over so my thread is positioned the right way up, which is the way we want to work. So here we're going to be adding, we're going to be starting our herringbone stitch. So right now you're going to add your coppery 8/0 round seed bead color to the thread, and then your hex color to the thread. Or your 8/0 hex, your silver 8/0 hex. Woo! And so then what you're gonna do is you're gonna come down through that second bead in the row, which is the silver hex bead. You can kind of see the herringbone already forming. Then you come up through that second hex bead. So that's how herringbone gets its name. When you pull these beads, they kind of like point inward to each other in that herringbone pattern. So next we're going to add our next couple beads in the row. We've got the hex bead that we want to add. Boop, and then the turquoise seed bead. And you see that these beads kind of align with the beads below it, so it's pretty easy to remember where you are. And now we're at the half tila. So for the half tila, it's pretty much the same, but you don't have to add 2 beads. You're just adding the half tila because it has 2 stringing holes. So we're using 1 2-hole bead in the place of 2 seed beads. So you add that. Getting a little squirrely here. Add that, and then just come down through the second stringing hole and the adjacent hole on the bead below it. Easy. Come up through the next turquoise seed bead. Add a turquoise seed bead, and then add a hex seed bead. Go down through the next seed bead over in the bottom row, which is a hex seed bead. Come up through the next hex seed bead. Looking cute. Ooh, would a super duo work in place of the half tila bead? With the super duo, because the ends are pinched, I would think that you would probably have to add like a demi round or something in between those pinched ends, because you'll probably get that gap. So maybe I would try it because it works up pretty quickly. So you would probably see pretty quickly if it would work or not. But my suggestion would be when you add that, before you add that super duo to your thread, I would pick up like a demi round and then the super duo hole, and then go back down through the next hole, add another demi round, and see how that looks. That would be a fun one to play around with. All right, our next little herringbone pair here is going to be the hex seed bead and the coppery 8/0 round. And we're going through that coppery round on the end of our bracelet here. Now, this is where it gets a little interesting. You can see on this bracelet, we've got some fun little cube beads on the edge there. And you are gonna start adding those right away. I'm gonna pick up, I'm coming out of the bottom of this end seed bead here. I'm gonna pick up one of those little 1.8 millimeter cubes, and I'm gonna come up through that top coppery seed bead. So you're kind of like adding those edges in as you go, so that's really fun. All right, and then we're ready to add our next row. So same kind of thing. You pick up that coppery color and this silver hex, go down through this bead. Now here, you don't have to go down through both rows, just that previous row. And then come up through that next hex bead in the previous row. Could you use the full Tila beads? You could, but you would be adding Tila beads to every other row. So as you can see, like right now, these two half Tilas make up the shape of one full Tila. So you would just add that full Tila and then continue the row, add your herringbones, go through the stringing holes of the Tila that's already there, and then add your row. So you'd be adding the Tila to every other row, and it would be there for 2 rows versus 1. That would be cool too. That might be a neat look. Good idea, Anne. All right, we've picked up a hex bead and a turquoise round. We're gonna come through that second bead there. And I like to kind of like pat the beads in place as I go. And then we'll come up through that second Tila bead in the second row, add another Tila. You guys are so creative, thinking of all these fun bead shapes to use. I think Cynthia did use super duos and a herringbone tutorial at one point. I'll have to find that tutorial for you and link it, because I think I was just looking at it the other day. I think she did use super duos. Hi, Mary. Okay. Now this stitch works up pretty quickly, so that's really nice. We've got a turquoise, and we're gonna pick up a silver hex here. Go through this silver hex in the previous row. Give your beads a little pat like they're a good dog. And then go up through the next. Good little beads, you're lining up nicely. Okay, we're gonna do a silver bead. Oh my gosh, you guys, that's probably my biggest struggle, is picking up those little seed beads on my needle. They should make like magnetic needles that just pick up, like attract the beads. That'd be cool. But not all of these beads are metal, so I don't know how. Oops. See, look, I went through all of the beads. You don't have to go through all of the beads, just the beads in the previous row. So I'm where I need to be, and then you're gonna add that cube bead like you did on the other side. So pick up that, he went flying. Pick up that 1.8 millimeter cube. Now that you're coming out of the bottom of that last bead in the second row, and then go up through the last bead in the working row. Now you're ready to start your next row. And you'll see as I keep going that there's going to be gaps between these cube beads on the edges.
we're going to go back and add in more cube beads in between those gaps. That's why there's a second color in this bracelet. So yeah, it's a really easy stitch, and you can kind of see that this looping back and forth really connects those previous rows. Like you can see, like these beads really aren't connected until I loop up for the next row. Yeah, spilling out beads on the mat does make them easier to pick up, but I'm kind of like very, I wouldn't say I'm type A because I do have a creative side, but sometimes I can be. Maybe it's the Virgo side of me. Like the thought of just spilling my beads on the mat is really stressful to me. For like putting them away in their bags and stuff. So I like them semi-contained. I'll say that's the Virgo side of me, the organized part of me. All right, so I've picked up a hex, and then pick up a turquoise, go back down through that previous row, and then up through the next Tila. So this is another one of those stitches that's gonna work up really fast. You can see how quickly we're getting through these rows, and I'm kind of like overly explaining them, talking through them so you guys get it. So you can see how quickly this would go if I were just zooming through. But we're chatting, we're having fun, and I want you guys to get this stitch. So if we were just going through, no talking, this would work up even faster. But even as it is working up really nicely. I'm a Virgo too, and just dump beads out all the time. Bad Virgo. Isn't there like different like rising signs? Maybe you're like a different sign, rising or whatever. I can't keep up with all of those things, but you know, we've all got different ways of doing things regardless of our zodiac signs. Okay, and now we're ready to add another. Ooh, I like these colors a lot. This is a really fun stitch to play around with colors too. So we're gonna go up through that second one. Boom, got it. All right, we're ready to start our next row. So yeah, so you can see that there's little gaps between those cube beads. You're gonna go in at the end and fill in those gaps with more cube beads. How fun is that? Go down through that second. I found, you guys, I went thrifting this past weekend with my sister-in-law, and we found such a cool find. I found this, it's like a cabinet, it's a mirrored cabinet, and when you open it, it has all these little cubbies, like mail slot organizers. It's totally vintage. It looks like it's from, I don't know, like the 1900s or something. And all the little mail slots have little holders for labels. It's so cool. And the cool thing about it was it's a mirrored cabinet front that folds down to close it. It has a locking feature on it, and it still has the key with the lock, which I find incredible that it survived being donated to a thrift store even with that key intact. I thought that was super cool. So I bought it and I put it on top of my beading desk for extra storage. It is so cool. I'll have to share a picture in the comments. I'm gonna try and find like some bins or something to see, to give it like, to put all my like beads and stuff in it, but I've already put like some of my stuff in there already. It's such a cool shelf, and it looks like it's part of my beading desk because my beading desk is kind of an antique piece as well. It's kind of the same finish wood as my desk, so it's so cool. It was my thrift store find of the weekend, and it was a really good price, so that was great. I love a good piece of furniture that's perfect for all your craft supplies. Super fun. So that was my find of the week. I love a good thrifting experience. I haven't been thrifting in a really long time either, so it was just fun to get back into it. There we go. This is looking so pretty. All right, so we're gonna add that second cube bead on the edge there. Oops. Keep my thread tight. There, look at that, isn't that fun? So you just keep going with that. I'll do a few more rows and then I'll show you how to add in the beads on the edges there. Add in more cube beads. You don't have to add more cube beads in if you like that staggered look too. It looks pretty cute with just alternating cube beads as well, but you can always add more beads. Never enough beads, that's what I say. Oops, that's not the color we want. Again, that's what I like about this stitch is the bead below kind of tells you what color you need to pick up next. So I'm coming through that turquoise bead, so I'm going to pick up a turquoise bead. So the rows all kind of match. Up through that half Tila. So fun. Pick up another half Tila since I'm coming out of a half Tila. Again, you've got a little key code right in the pattern there. So fun. Through that next turquoise bead in the previous row. Again, since we're coming out of a turquoise bead, we pick up a turquoise bead. Oh, I'm so glad you're loving the colors, Landa. I really like these colors too. I love the colors in the original as well. We named it Riches of Rome because it just looks like something like a Roman princess would wear. All right, so we've got our turquoise bead, and since we're going down through a silver hex bead, you pick up a hex bead and then go down through it. So fun. Okay. Oh yeah, that's true too. The bonus is that many thrift stores are associated with a charitable cause. Yeah, and it's especially like if you're clothes shopping, it's a great way. Like thrifting your clothes is a little more, I think it's like reducing your footprint or something because you're not like buying new clothes, you're buying stuff that's already out there. So I just love thrifting, and you can find such good deals. I actually found while we were thrifting this weekend, I found Lululemon leggings. Which they're pretty pricey new, and I got them for 15 bucks, and they're in my size. I was so happy. So that was another good find. I just need one cube here, so I'm coming out. So you can see I finished my row, but I'm adding a cube to the edge. So I've picked up my cube and I'm coming up through that top bead, that last bead on the top row. So we add our little cube edge that's looking so cute there. Yay! Again, we have got PDF diagrams for how to do this basic herringbone stitch. We've got other tutorial videos on the website and on our YouTube channel as well, and step-by-step instructions for this beautiful bracelet that I've got all of those linked in the video description. I've also got links to these pretty colors that I'm using here, as well as the general categories for these bead shapes that I'm using. So if you want to try your own colors, you totally can. I've got links to everything. Thank you, Anne. This is going to be beautiful. I think so too. These colors are really nice. I really like these colors that I found. I just love the look of herringbone too. It just looks, I don't know, so intricate. But it's a pretty easy stitch and it works up really fast. I love a stitch that, oops, I did that wrong. So can you see my mistake here? So I added, or did I do it wrong? I'm confusing myself here. No. Oh, I see what I did. Okay. I did this wrong. Let's get it. Okay, I have to unthread my needle, that sucks. So I didn't go back down through the second stringing hole on that Tila I added, which made it stand up wrong. So let's try that again, but always good to show how you can correct little mistakes like that, because they can and will happen as you, especially if you're chatting like I am, or watching TV like I usually do when I'm beading. Okay, so I forgot to go through the second stringing hole of the Tila bead when I added that one, so easily corrected. Going up through the next seed bead over and then adding the same seed bead, and then the hex seed bead going down through that hex seed bead. Coming up through the next hex. It's fun to say. Picking up one of those hexes and then a copper, going down through the copper and then adding that cube to the end. I think I'm gonna do like maybe 2 more rows, maybe 1 more row. We'll do 1 more row and then I'll show you how to add in those cube beads in between the edges there. So you could really work this up pretty quickly. I've already got a good amount of length here in about 30 minutes, and I've been going slow and talking, so you could totally bust one of these out in no time. And these are some really fun colors. I'm loving them. Oops, almost had it. There we go. Add that guy on, and then don't forget to go through the second stringing hole like I did the last go around. We've got turquoise, and then I need a hex. Going down through. Yeah, it will go with everything. You must be super organized to be ready to work on the project. I kind of think it through ahead of time, and I got my beads all gathered ahead of time. I do some prep ahead of time. I haven't actually I was kind of like winging it because I haven't done flat herringbone stitch in a really long time. But I just by looking at the diagram, I was like, oh, that I could probably do pretty easily on air. And so you can see, like, if you haven't done it in a long time, or if you're just starting out, it's pretty easy to get the hang of it and pick up on it. All right, so that's about basic, easy. So then I'm going to show you how to go back through and get those other beads on there. So if you were doing this for real, you would keep going until your bracelet is the desired length. This is about 6 3/4 inches, 7 inches long. Just keep in mind that your clasp is going to add some length as well. And so fun, so easy. And you can see that it works up pretty quickly. And you can make your loop bigger too if you need a little bit more length. But you do want it close to that size of your bead so it's not slipping off your wrist. So super easy. So you would just keep going until your bracelet is the length that you'd want it, and then you would start adding the cube beads in to your gaps. So all you have to do is position your thread so that it's coming out. Actually, I'm going to add 1 more row here because I think that'll work out better for me for weaving in the gaps. Yeah, the clasp is a crystal bead that was just used as the closure, and it's a really great shape for a closure. It's almost like that like bar shape of a toggle. So that's a good one. You could use a button, that would be a good one. You could use a round bead too. I've seen round beads used for closures. All kinds of different things you could use. You could even just use a toggle clasp if you wanted to. Just stitch a toggle right on to the ends there instead of the beads. All kinds of different things you could do. I'm wondering too, since the half Tilas are incorporated and we have the symbol findings that work with some of those bead shapes, I'm wondering if you could use one of the symbol findings to attach a clasp at the end. That would be kind of fun as well. So basically what you would do to, I'm going to weave back this way, and that'll kind of cinch up my ends here too. So to fill in those gaps, you're going to weave your thread to wherever you want to start adding those little cubes. Oh, thank you, Cynthia. This is really pretty. And yeah, I am pretty organized. That's probably why I can't bring myself to just dump my beads out on the tray. I love a good little organization hack. Gonna bring this back this way. So I'm just kind of following the same thread path as the original stitch, and then I'm back this way and I'm facing down, and then I can start adding the cubes in there. So I'm picking up one of those little cubes, and I'm going to flip my work so everything's pointing up, and then you would just add your cube and then go through the next cube. Alternatively too, you could knot between these, go through this guy. Depending on like the look you want. So go through that next seed bead over, and then knot your thread if you want like extra security. And then go through the next one. So it just adds a little more texture. Again, you could leave it where the cube beads are alternating. I quite like that look as well. And make sure to leave a comment, leave a like so I know that you're watching, and share with your friends. So then once you've got like all your beads added, you would weave your thread over to the other side, do the same on the other side. At that point, you're probably going to want to secure your thread and trim. Securing your thread is really easy, and you might find that you need to do this too as you're working. If your thread starts to get short while you're working, you can always add more thread in. I would start to want to add thread in if I got to about this length left. You don't want your thread to get too short or you won't be able to secure it. So once I'm getting to like here, I'm like, okay, I need to secure this thread and add more. All you need to do for that is just weave your thread back in to the weave of the herringbone stitch. And you could even like knot between beads if you wanted, or just follow the weave path and loop around a bunch of times to secure the thread, because the more you loop around, you're going to be catching those threads within the weave, and that's going to secure it more and more the more you do it. Then you'll be able to trim and add a new thread in the same way. These colors are really cool. This is the Rome version, and I'm making the Egyptian version here. So cool. We've got both ancient civilizations represented. So fun. I did that unconsciously, but I do love ancient Egypt. So pretty. So then let's say you're done with your bracelet, you've added your cube beads into the gaps, you've secured your thread. You're going to add a new thread in to add your clasp. And you're going to want to add your clasp right at the ends there where the Tilas are. So you're going to want to position your thread so it's coming out of one of the Tila holes. So I would loop down around and add it here. If you're adding a bead like this, you're going to add one cube bead, your big closure bead, and then another cube bead. Come back down through the big bead, add another cube bead, and go through the second hole of the half Tila, and then secure. Oh, Beverly, my grandmother used to love ancient Egypt. She had a replica bust of King Tut in her living room. That is awesome. I love that. I love learning about King Tut. What an interesting person. And like the discovery of King Tut's tomb. Oh, so cool. I love Egypt. I want to go there really bad. I've actually been like researching going to not ancient Egypt. You can't time travel, but going to current day Egypt to see like the pyramids and stuff. Maybe one day when travel isn't so crazy. And then you would do the same on the ends. You would come up out through this Tila, add your cubes, and then you would come down. Before securing that though, I would check the fit with the bead that you've got and adjust if necessary. And then once the loop is the way you like, then you would secure your thread in the same way. Really fun. I love this. So that's a good thing to note too. Always add your toggle part of the clasp before the loop, because you always want to check if you're making a beaded loop, because you always want to check the fit of that loop with your little bead or button that you're using. So that's a good tip. So super easy to do flat herringbone, even with all these crazy bead shapes. I'm loving these colors. I'll have to finish this for a fun kind of ancient Egyptian look. So that way, when I actually do go to Egypt, I can wear this pretty bracelet to the pyramids, right? So beautiful, so fun. So really fun technique. Goes by pretty quickly. I did this in about 40 minutes here. So if you just kept going, and I was pretty chatty and slow when I was doing it, so you could totally do a whole bracelet in a day, easy, or a couple days too if you break up the time. I'm a marathoner. I like to just go as much as I can, but super quick project. And even if you did like take a break, like worked on it one day and then took a break and picked it back up the next day, this is an easy one to do that on, because the beads in the last row kind of tell you what beads to pick up, so you won't be lost in the stitch. So fun. So really pretty. So I hope you enjoyed that. Oh yeah. Oh, now we're talking about ruins. Emma said we went to Belize in December and it was amazing. They have Maya ruins there. Yeah, I love the Maya ruins. I have been to one called Kahunlich, and they have all these cool stone carved masks that you can see, and that's one where you can actually kind of really get into it, like exploring the ruins. It's a really nice site, and there weren't as many people at that one because it's not one of the bigger ones, but they still have all the big temples, and the face carvings were really cool. So yeah, so that's flat herringbone. Super easy. Like I said, we have got full text instructions. This tutorial is in our design studio with the supplies list, and you'll even get a nice little PDF diagram there for making the bracelet. We also have basic herringbone stitch diagram if you've never done the stitch before. super easy to get into it. Like I said, I haven't done herringbone in a long while, and it was super easy to pick it back up for the video today. I've got links to everything in the video description, so have fun learning and shopping for these pretty seed bead colors.